Here, we allowing others to come into the room. All right, we're gonna go to the screen tonight. Presentation and discussion is called The Sagamore Gods of the Americas. The Sagamore Gods of the Americas. So we're gonna get into that discussion tonight. All right. We're gonna let the room fill up a little bit more here. Hopefully y'all can see the screen. Hopefully that's a yes. Yeah, I got you now. All right. All right, so this is the Pamunkey Nation, which is one of the 11 Virginia Indian tribes recognized by the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, notice how they look. These are very dark-skinned melanated people here, but yet they was referred to as Indians, and they are recognized in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The historical tribe was part of the Powhatan, all right, Paramountcy. It says, a turn of the century Powhatan family from Virginia posed for a portrait in a non-Indian dress. Prior to World War II, the Powhatan began a community in the Philadelphia Camden area, which is Camden in New Jersey. That means they went there, as it says here, frequently intermarried with the Nanacoats of Delaware, or who was called the Delaware Moors. That's what it was called, the Delaware Moors. All right. So they was frequently intermarried them. So you have what's called the Nanacoats, the Delaware Moors, also referred to as the Lenape or Lenni Lenape, known as the Sagamores. All right. This is who we talking about tonight. All right. So here's a Virginia Indian, so-called Native American. This is from Pinterest. And if you notice how dark he is, all right, these are the things that you have to look at. I know some of y'all get caught up into the buffalo grease, in which that they utilize. All right, the Virginia Act passed 2 acts in 1682 that combined the Native Americans and the Africans into one category. All right, Negroes and other slaves. If you get the written record of the voyage of 1524 by Giovanni di Verrazzano, as recorded in a letter to Francis I, King of France, July the 8th, 1524, he gives the description of how they look of the natives. He said they are dark in color, not unlike the Ethiopians, with thick black hair, not very long, tied back behind their heads like a small tail. All right. As for the physique of these men, they was well proportionate, of medium height, a little taller than we are. They had broad shoulders, strong arms, legs, and other parts of their bodies are well composed. All right. Even on a new world map, is a new map of the world. This is the map maker was Robert Greene. This is 1676. And they show how the so-called Americans look, and they show how the Africans looked. All right. Here's another map. This map maker was John Ogilvy from London, 1671. 1671. And this map is southeast and extends to the York River in Virginia to northern Florida. So we're talking about from Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina to Virginia. This whole northeast section says the map shows the area from the lower Chesapeake Bay to northern Florida and is faithful reduction of William Blau, important prototype map of 1638. All right. Now, if you can't see too well, you can see that the people that they're talking about from Virginia down to Florida were dark-skinned people here. All right. Here's a better look. All right. Here's a better look. This is undeniable that we were the natives here in the southeast area, which most of our parentage apparently comes out of the southeast. We know that the Choctaw in particular, who are the Washita, are Olmec descendants. And the Olmec's been in the South is what matter of fact, along the Mississippi for over 5,000 years, coming up from the interior of what we now refer to as Mexico. In fact, Prophet Noble Ali stated specifically that before the Europeans' arrival, there was Moors living all up and down the Mississippi. Those were the ones of the Choctaw Creek, which is Muskogee descent in particular. Notice from Virginia to Florida. Look at the hair. They don't have the long hair. The hair here is curly, crisp, small afros to the head. This is for the men and the women, as you see here. And what did Giovanni say? Or Verrazano, as of course New York Bridge is named after Verrazano Bridge. But he said that they are dark in color, not unlike the Ethiopians. So they dark in color, not unlike the Africans. This is what he was saying. All right. You can get another map. It's based on Jansen's map, 1651. It's coming from Matthew Sutter's Augsburg. This is coming from out of New York. Right? This is elaborate depicting natives and gods representing the tribute to the English monarch George II. Natives and gods. All right. How native gods look. Once again, melanated, small afro, curly, said nappy hair. The word nappy comes from the word Lenape, meaning that you are of Lenape descent. Lenny Lenape. All right, the Nanacoats, called the grandfather nation. Right? It's called Indian Fort. Szechuan Hanuk. Can't see too well, but down near the bottom, you see so-called melanated figures. paintings and depictions of the so-called natives in these, the Moors, Sagamores. Here's a better close-up, kind of a little bit blurry, but you can still make out and see that it was us that was doing the farming, as you see here. We was master farmers. America, in 1862, I was in the region of San Andres Sula, a town in the state of Veracruz in Mexico. Now this is Jose Mengele, all right, Jorge's Mengele. And this is the Mexican Society of Geography and Statistics. And he says that he was in the state of Veracruz in Mexico. And during my excursions, I learned that a colossic head that had unearthed a few years before. On my arrival at the hacienda, I asked the owner of the property where the head was discovered to take me to look at it. We went, and I was struck with surprise. At a work of art, it is without extravagant, right here it says he was without extragation, long day, y'all. All right, with exaggeration, he says a magnificent sculpture. What astonished me was the Ethiopic, check this out now, the Ethiopic type represented. I reflected that there had undoubtedly been Negroes in this country. What country? Mexico. And that this had been in the first epoch of the world. So we find that the word America is derived from the ancient Egyptian word merak, or merati, which means overseer of the estates, land superintendent, Murat, America, Marata. The Olmecs, the first great American civilization, was that of the Olmecs of Mexico from 1200 BC, which actually, it goes further back than this. This is what they're saying here. They developed a highly organized society centered on spectacular site built for religious ceremonies at San Lorenzo and La Venta, Veracruz, Tabasco. The Olmecs people sculptured huge monuments in stone and portable figurines in jade. Many Olmec achievements benefited later American societies, earning Olmec's culture, or Olmeca culture, the name mother culture. My wife and I went to Mexico back in 2007. And the guy was just talking about the Mayans this, the Mayans that. My wife broke out and asked the question, well, what about the Olmecs? He said, well, the Olmecs are the mothers of civilization. How we don't know too much about them. Next question. And went back to answering cracker questions. The colossal head, 8 giant stone heads was found in San Lorenzo, Mexico. They probably show Olmec rulers. The Olmec rulers, the gods, the black gods of ancient America. Another of the 5 gigantic heads of Olmec deities, weighing about 5 tons. From first size reproduction in the American Museum of Natural History, New York. So we go down here to the bottom. It says the black gods and messiahs were worshipped in the New World before Columbus. Africa and America were in all probability once joined. Geographically, zoologically, they were very close related. Camel, tigers, elephants, and bears, oh my, had all been found. All right, so what they never told you in history class by Indo-Kemet Kush, he states this at the top. A fitting statement was made by Professor Wiener of Harvard University. Harvard. All right, in his book, Africa and the Discovery of America, Volume 3, Philadelphia, 1920 to 1922. He shows how the culture of America is so closely resemble African culture that one must conclude the African origin of America. All right. The identity of the spiritual civilization down to the remotest detail in the Sudan, in Mexico, and elsewhere in America leads to the assumption that other cultural elements identical in both continents and frequently bearing the same name as African origin. This is why they want to tie us to Africa so bad, so that they can continue still in the land rights, but they make Africa first primary as say that we are African Americans. But nobody else takes on the term African, but yet we all allegedly came from out of Africa based on what is said to us by Louis B. Leakey and Richard Leakey, his son, who leaked it out back in the 1950s that the so-called black man is the original man, the maker, the owner, the cream of planet Earth, father of civilization, God of the universe. And lastly, R.A. Jarazbadi, in his book, Ancient Egyptians and Chinese in America, he pointed out that the blacks began his career in America not as slave, but as master. Who's the master? Sure enough, who's the master? Leroy, I said, who's the master? And Leroy got that head from out that goddamn tank of water and said, I am. And started that glow. You got that glow. That glow, you know you got that glow. The power of elevation. You got that glow. You got that glow, nigga. You know what Christians say, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Shine, nigga, shine. In fact, the word America comes from Amaru, which means shining serpent. Show north. Kiss my Converses, nickel. Nickel, please. All right, so the colossal African Olmec or Afro Olmec head at the Bassard wearing Nubian type war helmet. Nubian type war helmet. Now, this is what we told when we went back to Mexico by a Mayan, and he was an anthropologist. And he told us specifically, all right, anthropologist, archaeologist, he worked in that field because he was actually our tour guide. So he took us to pyramids of Tulum, all right? We went to the pyramids of Chichen Itza, Tulum, Cabal, you know, various ones, but this one was Tulum. And he told us specifically that in 2013, it was March 2013, he told us specifically that we was on the bus, and he said something happened 4 years ago in which that caused him to have to tell the truth. Of course, the only thing that could have happened 4 years ago was 4 years before that. It was just coming into 2013, 4 years before that would have been President Barack Obama becoming president of the United States of America. So he said something happened 4 years ago that made him have to tell the truth. The truth is, and he was talking, and there was white folks on it. He said, I'm not talking to y'all because we already know the history that you gave us. So that shut them up automatically. And so all of us was like, hell yeah, that's right. And so he said, I'm talking to them. And he said, these pyramids and everything in which that we talking about as far as civilization in Mexico was founded by the Nubian Egyptians. In other words, the Cushites. This is what he said. So we have the Afro-Olmec. They came from the Mendes region of West Africa. In other words, they was Malian. Matter of fact, the Mendes or the Mandinka or the Mandingo people are one and the same as the Dogon. In fact, a branch of the Mandinka people still resides in Egypt to this day. In Upper Egypt to this day. and they are referred to as the Nubians, but their names are the Dinka people. Mandinka, Dinka, same people. All right. So as they came from up, as you see here, from South America, and look, this is how Mexico looked in 1794. All right. This is how Mexico looked in 1794. All right. Notice how most of the United States was part of Mexico, or the Olmec Empire, i.e. called now the Washita Empire. It was the funny little meme that I seen. I thought it might have been relevant. They're Africans. Dumbass niggas. Ha 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 ha. Charles Darwin was a genius. They think Negroes only exist in one continent. Ha ha ha. Now we control their land and whole livelihood. Ha 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 ha. Changing their identity was the best thing we have ever done. Ha 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 ha. They actually let us educate their children. Ha 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 ha. All because of a drawn up cartoon. Neurological vision, mongoloid. The Negro American, then you have the Native American, which is 3/4 Negro blood. Then you have the Native American, which is 3/4 Asian blood. Then you have the Mongoloid Native American, which is Chinese. Mongoloid is from the word Mongolian, Chinese, which came across the Bering Strait and came down from Alaska. And how you know? Because there are Chinese still there today. They're called the Eskimos. The greatest myth about the Black Native Americans is that they never existed. This myth has been perpetuated by numerous American films which record the Indian Wars with the Apaches and Lakota tribes. Whites have created a myth that there were no Black Native Americans. They teach that only Black Indians were slaves of the Mongoloid Indians. This is false. There were many Black Native American nations when Europeans arrived in America. In fact, Blacks have been in America for over 100,000 years. Over 100,000 years. The Washita speaks of them being here 100,000 years. But the Twa people was here over 2 million years, according to a European Albion author by the name of James Churchward in his book, The Children of Mu. So we have the ancient Amarukan. The startling fact is that in all parts of Mexico, archaeological pieces representing Negro or Negroid people have been found, especially in archaic or pre-classic sites. This is Professor Alexander von Wutenow, author of Unexpected Faces in Ancient America, 1500 BC, 1500 AD, and the historical testimony of pre-Columbian artists. Here are some examples, right? Talapacaya, Mexico, 100 to 1000 BC. Von Wutenow had this in 1969, right? Ashaka, Mexico, 400 BC, 100 AD. Von Wutenow had this in 1975. Veracruz, Mexico, 300 to 700 AD. Von Wutenow had this in 1969. All of these years that we just showed, which these are African figurines, all existed here hundreds of years before Christopher Columbus, before 1992. So anybody who was found here before 1992 were referred to as Indians. Remember? So you have lineage to the Indians because they was here before 1992. Even though they might have been African, they were still Indian based on their terminology. Remember, they gave everybody the term who was here in the Americas before them, Indian. They was in the West Indies, remember? So that means if they was in the West Indies, that means the so-called black people that was there before the slave trade was what? Indians, by their definition. Indigenous Mexicans and African archaeogenetics, DNA, and HLA resources were analyzed to determine to what extent admixtures had occurred between these populations. The sample indicated that the indigenous Mexican-African admixture had taken place across Mexican fundamental male and female lineages, and that Africans and indigenous Mexicans share HLA alleles. In addition, archaeogenetics evidence includes African Mandi inscriptions, Mandi substratum in Mayan languages. African depicts in Mayan murals of San Bartolo and Yushtan. It says African skulls generally and ancient Mayan, right? Check this out now. Skeletons with sickle cell anemia. Mayans had sickle cell anemia? Where they get that shit from? Well, support Spanish evidence. All right. It says accounts of Black Native American tribes, which is called Otome, Cantal, which is Mayan speaking group, Yorura, and etc. in Mesoamerica when they arrived on the scene. So when the Europeans, the European Spaniards, or some of the Moorish Spaniards arrived on the scene, there was already so-called Black tribes here, who they refer to as Indians. The almost total extinction of the Negro during the time of the Spanish conquest and the memories of them in the most ancient traditions induce us to believe that the Negroes were the first inhabitants of Mexico. Now, this is a physician and archaeologist, Nicholas Leon. He wrote a book called The General History of Mexico, a Historia General de Mexico, 1919. This is what he said, right? They did the same everywhere, white European tactics. Next, the Spanish declared the Black Mexicans were Africans because they was Negroes. Forced to live like the African slaves, they lost their history because Spanish burnt their books and killed their scholars. With the destruction of the Black Mexican history texts, and scholars began to, the myth that the founders of the Mayan civilization were Mongolian or Mongoloid people. This lie was maintained because the artifacts found at the Mayan sites was mainly of Mongoloid. This changed after archaeologists began to dig inside of the pyramids when they found at the sites like Ishtung and San Bartolo, was that there was check this out, was sub pyramids under the Mongoloid Mayan pyramids that contain iconographic images of the Black Mayans, hence the Olmecs and the inscriptions written in the Olmec writing, which is Mandi. All right, so here we have Carlos Marquez, 1858, 1930, right? Ethnologist, botanist, military general, and historian. Some very credible credentials. And he wrote the book, Study Archaeology and Ethnicity, in Spanish, of course, Volume 1, Madrid, 1920. And this is what he says in the book. The Negro type is seen in the most ancient Mexican sculptures. The Negroes figure frequently in the most remote traditions of some American Pueblo. It is that this race doubtlessly belongs to the most ancient skeletons distinct from the red American race, which has been found in various places from Bolivia to Mexico. It is likely that we repeat. You see how I had to repeat? America was a Negro continent. America was a Negro continent. America was a Negro continent. Get it? Afro-Americans in pre-Columbian Mexico. The photo below, Rice is submitted to further support the position that blacks lived among indigenous Mesoamerican Indian cultures in pre-Columbian times. Pre-Columbian times means before Columbus. In other words, there was niggas in the Americas before Columbus. Get it? I took it earlier that year. All right, so right here, it says right here, at the Meso, which is Museum D, or the Museum of Anthropology, de Jalapa, in Mexico, that the two terracotta heads appearing to be of individuals of African racial origin. Both had large lips and flaring nose, typical of this race. The head on the left is either bald or shaven. Baldness was not a genetic feature among Native American Indians, nor was shaven hair from the entire head a custom among Mesoamerican culture. The figure on the right may be wearing a cap. All right, scarification tattoos appears on the face of the right figurine or figure. Mutilation characteristics among tribes of African Gold Coast. Both pieces are in the room in the museum, which contains sculptures from Veracruz, Mexico. No information is given on these heads, but there is clearly the Negroid black race. Numerous other portraits of Negro people in Mesoamerica can be found in two books by Alexander von Woutenau. All right, that was the old dude I showed you earlier. The Art of Terracotta Pottery in Pre-Columbian Central and South America, 1965, and Unexpected Faces in Ancient America, 1975. All right, Woutenau, he was giving your information back. Make sure you had it. So in school, we learned all about the Mayans, the Incas, the Aztecs, the Toltecs, but we don't learn about the Olmecs. But yet the Olmecs are the mothers of the Mayans, the Incas, the Aztecs, the Toltecs. There are around 900,000 Afro-Mexicans in Mexico right now. Mostly Afro-Mexicans living in Oaxaca, Guerrero, Veracruz, and Yucatan. First few African slaves brought to to Mexico as servants by, check this out, first few, all right? Check this is what it's getting ready to tell you. African slaves brought to Mexico as servants by Hernan Cortez. Later, Spanish brought over 200,000 African slaves to Mexico, 1519 to 1821. But they weren't getting them per se from Africa. They was getting them from here in North America, in the adjoining islands. Here's the book, Afro-Mexicans, Discourse of Race and Identity in the African Diaspora, by Chihiro, and get the book, The Secret Relations Between Blacks and Mexicans, One Drop Classification, One People Forever United Against Oppression. Can you dig it? This is the proximate tribal location prior to the European contact. All right. The last black emperor of Mexico before the Spanish conquest was Montezuma. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli was the extent of the Moroccan Empire. Not the Kingdom of Morocco, but the Moroccan Empire stretched across the waters from the halls of Montezuma from Mexico into Tripoli, which is Libya, Africa. This is why they call us African Americans. But it should be American Africans, because Europeans, even though they come from out of Africa too, they don't call themselves African Europeans. Asians just admitted recently in 2005 in various articles that they came from out of Africa, but they don't call themselves African Asians. Before the 1970s, we referred to ourselves as American Negroes. America was first. Negro, however, does not tie us to the landmass, even though the term American does. The problem with America itself is that you have to put something in front of it or behind it, in which that verifies that you are distinct. So Prophet Noble Ali did Moorish American. The word or term Moorish is an adjective because the ISH, however, it does relate to nationality, in which that it can still be seen as a noun. So Moorish or more American, right, comes close. However, even Prophet Noble Ali had a tribal affiliation because he said he was raised on a Cherokee reservation. Hence, he was Cherokee, at least his father was. However, we know that matriarchally, that the bloodline actually comes by way of the mother ties to the land. And his mother was Eliza Turner. Who was Turnica, Washita. All right. His Vinci Guerrero, who was the first president in North America of African descent. See, they saying African descent, indigenous descent. But 1781 to 1831, he was one of the leading revolutionary generals in the Mexican War of the Independence against Spain. He became the second president of Mexico in 1829, fighting against Iturbide and other conservatives who wanted a constitutional monarchy that would favor the wealthy landowners through continual exploitation of the poor. He defended a democracy of all, actually it was a republic, democracy of all classes, races, and abolished slavery. He's the last governor of Mexico, California, P.O.D. Jesus Pico, who was a direct descendant of the Olmec Mayans, aka the so-called Africans of ancient Black Mexico. Right now, you can tell that these are melanated brothers, and they verify that through their own teachings that they are. Here is Colonel Carmen Amelia Robel, Afro-Mexican woman leader in the Mexican Revolution. Can you get it? Do you get it? There's some more Mexicans. Oh, yeah, but you wouldn't have known that these here was Mexicans unless I told you. See, you don't know nothing about these Mexicans here. Or these here. See, you didn't know that Mexicans had some nappy hair. That they was Lenape. Photograph Sal Rojas will take you on a visual journey exploring the roots, culture, and life of the Afro-Mexicans. And the Afro-Mexicans make up more than 5% of Mexican population, yet remain invisible to the majority of Mexicans. Let alone you. You don't know nothing about them. But yet we just proved that, according to their own historians, archaeologists, anthropologists, that there was Blacks already in Mexico before Columbus. But they have them thinking that they just got their own slave ships too. They believe they just got their own slave ships. They got the same bullshit story that you got, that you was taught in school. These are all Mexicans. Some looking just like your relatives, your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your fathers, your uncles, your aunt. but they believe as you do. It's a Mexican woman from the Costa Chica in Mexico. Can you tell her any different than a sister here in the United States corporation? Mexican woman from Oaxaca, Mexico. Mexican couple from Guerrero, Mexico. See, we're going to end the misconceptions of who was here. When we're talking about the Sagamores, we're talking about throughout all of North, Central, South America. But these are so-called blacks in Veracruz, Mexico, where they found the heads, colossal heads of the Olmecs, and here their descendants are, but yet they would tell them that they came by way of slave ships. Oh, here they are doing the kid and play. What's up? See, these are Mexicans that you, sister, even holding the flag. Look at the ones that's next to him. It is indisputable that in very ancient times, the Negro occupied Mexico. They brought their own religious cults and ideals. Right? This is Vincente Riva Palacio, 1832 to 1896. Who is he? Well, military general, politician, historian, writer. He was the grandson of the first president of Mexico, Vincent Guerrero. He showed you him. Here he is. Oh, Vincent. There he is. There he is. Still telling the truth. Bloodline still have to tell you the truth of who you are. And he revealed this in a book called Mexicans a Travel, a Través de los Singulos, Volume 1. All right. Let's read this here about Montezuma. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Now, Cortez had in his fortress Montezuma's brother, Cutele Huetesin, who stood next in the regular line of succession, and he evidently did not understand the danger in letting him in. The increase in numbers was fast telling was the stock of food, and Cortez sent out his brother, who ordered to have the market open. Now, let's down. They attacked the arrows. They attacked with arrows, slings, and javelin, and many Spaniards were killed and wounded. The Spanish cannons swept the streets with tremendous or terrible effects, and the canals nearby ran red with blood. But the Indians pressed on and shot. All right, and shot burning arrows. So there was a fight. It was fights. War took place. Right? You have the late deity had once been the sun, but Quetzalcoatl had knocked him out of the sky with a big club and jumped into his place, had became the sun instead of him. Right? That's talking about Quetzalcoatl. All right, and so let's keep going. right here, check it out. It says, but in whatever way he have gone, all was agreed that in the fullness of time, Quetzalcoatl would return from the Eastern Ocean with white-faced companions and renew his benevolent rule over the Mexican people. Now, that is the European lie. Quetzalcoatl, this is the shit that they thought Cortez. Some people thought because of the prophecy that Cortez was the so-called white face coming back in the image of Quetzalcoatl, but Coto means black in the Olmec Mayan language. Coto means black, dark skins, dark complected. So we know that that white face shit that Europeans always trying to bring up in their books is bullshit. Because the name itself tells you that, right? Dark plumed serpent. The dark plumed serpent. Quetzalcoatl. That's what that means. So this is a lie. Now, who they really believed that came even before Cortez, that was the real Quetzalcoatl, was the individual by the name of Abu Bakari II, Mansa Abu Bakari II, the ruler of Mali. And M-A-L-I became M-A-R-U, Maru, or M-E-R-U. So Mali, Maru, all of that is the same. And the Olmecs are the Malian people. And Abu Bakari came here to find his brothers and sisters who were the Malians who left from out of Africa 5,000 years before, who was known as the Olmecs. And they describe him of having white robes and dark skin complected or black face. This is what the real information. See, they try to say, oh, he had a white face and a black beard. No. In the writings of the Olmec Mayan people, Quetzalcoatl was to return, and he would have black skin, and he would have a white beard, or white and a white robe. See, this is all lies told by the Albion, always trying to put themselves in that goddamn place. They goddamn thieves, birthright thieves. They stole the history and culture of the Hebrews, Israelites, the Egyptians, the so-called Indians, the Black Jew. All of that was your history. They done mangled that shit up so bad until they got everybody believing elsewise. The American Indians, Aztecs. This photo probably shows Terra Humaras Indians, the ethnic group of Chihuahua state in Mexico, 1910, 1915. But look at these Aztecs. Look at them. These are very dark-skinned, melanated people. This is 1910. They are not the ones in which that you see Mexicans coming over here nowadays. Ain't no blacks in Mexico, huh? Well, shit, who the hell are these? All right, so the Costa Chica say they are not, they insist, the descendants of African slaves. There was never slavery here, even in ancient times. You see, I'm gonna say that again. This is what the Costa Chica say. They are not, they insist, the descendants of African slaves. There was never slavery here. even in ancient times. Bobby Vaughn notes that he found no consciousness of slavery among the people in Costa Chica. Another researchers noted that housewives in San Jose, Estancia Grande, and Santiago Tepacti in Costa Chica say that the ancestors did not come from Africa, that their families have always lived right here. Do y'all get this? You get it? You got to get it. What did they do with the Mayans? The Olmecs? Because remember, they told you that Mayans disappeared, and they got you thinking that they went up on UFOs and shit, and just left. And you know, this is European, and they goddamn narcissistic mentality, psychopathic, sociopathic mentality. The Mayans just upped and disappeared. No, the Mayans, y'all brought them into the damn United States of America corporate policy and made them slaves. Check this out. In the area that is now Belize, the Mayans suffered and died under Spanish occupation. They was massacred and fled into dense forests of central and western Belize for security. The British buccaneers and pirates also attacked the Mayans along the coast of Belize. They raided and destroyed many of the Mayan settlements along the coast. They also stole food, right? Enslaved the Mayans, kidnapped Mayan women and children. Some Mayans were even sold as slaves to British plantations owners and settlers in Jamaica. Some were also sold to check this out, slave masters in the southern states of the United States, especially North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. The region was of a land of suffering for non-whites and also prosperity for the settlers from Europe. Attempts was also made to improve relations between the rival European powers in the region when Spanish granted the British settlers to right to occupy the area that is now Belize. Spanish also allowed the British settlers to cut logwood in exchange for an end to piracy, while slavery continued. Now, many say that Richard Thornton's is nuts for saying that the Mayans were in Georgia. Well, I just showed you that they was brought into North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. So Georgia ain't a step away. Well, Lozado Langley, forensic genealogist and historian, have found much proof of Mayans Indians slaves in South and North Carolina and Virginia by means of Belize. The archives of Belize counts thousands of them being sold into the Carolinas. So this is where the goddamn missing Mayans got to. This is where they got to. Right? This is where they got to. All right, so you got to understand what is going on. We're talking about revisionist history at its worst. The Albion has revised history at its worst. You can't listen to what they saying. You got to come to somebody who know what the hell they talking about, like myself. All right, and there's several others out there, but you got to come to where somebody know what the hell they doing, because right now there's a whole lot of lies being told, and there's a whole lot of confusion. All right, there's so-called black folks be listening to Gaia, to them crackers on that shit, and they damn be mixing themselves all up in it, talking about they the Palladians and shit. Anton from the Ashtar Command Fleet and shit, all that bullshit. You can't even damn go beyond the Van Allen belt, let alone out there in the watery space. Right? The misnomer Olmeca or Olmecs or Mayans is Ish, the most highly advanced ancient black civilization on Earth, which inhabited North America. Right? This is from Dr. Ali Muhammad. Various black nations lived in the Americas before Columbus, according to Rafinik. He says the primitive black nations of America. This is Atlantic Journal and Friends Knowledge, Philadelphia, 1832, 1833. These are the Olmec Mayan people. Notice how the Mexicans had a quote unquote hammer, or what is known as the Sphinx. Mayan priests by Jorge Mota. Just like the sister here. More melanated people from Guerrero. Guerrero in Mexico has the highest population of nearly 1 million so-called blacks who was never enslaved. They don't know nothing about slavery. Right? At least not the Costa Chincas. But the ones there in Mexico, they've been told the same lie that you have, that they came from Africa on slave ships. There was a lot more going on in the Americas than what they told you. If these are Native Americans from 500, 800 AD, who are natives you see on TV? The ancient Mayan idol found in the Mandan Indian sculptures, which may have been acquired as a gift or as a prize of battle. Now understand that this is Mandan. Mandan is short for Mandi or Mandinka people. One and the same people. Dr. Lee Pulgion say, besides the sculptures of long bearded men seen by the explorer of Chichen Itza, there were tall figures of people with small heads, thick lips, curly, short hair or wool, regarded as Negroes. We always see them as standard or parasol bearers, but never engaged in actual warfare. This is the Mayan architecture, archaeology, page 62, Maya archaeology. The following cut is from the court of the palace of Palenka. It says, features by Stefan. The face is strikingly Ethiopian. The figure below represents a gigantic granite head found near the volcanic of Chistela in the Mexican state of Veracruz at Casipa. Right? The figure are unmistakably Negroid. What they talking about is here, as well as also all these Mayan faces, Olmec Mayan faces that you're seeing, in particular the sculptures. Here we have of the Inca. Now look on the cover. This is supposed to be an Inca Indian, but who do it look like? Aztecs preparing chocolate engraved from the Historia del America, which is the history of America, 1600. Who do you see here? Look at the hair. They are drawn, dark skinned, dark complected, with short, crisp, curly hair. That type of hair which that they refer to you always of the Mongolian or the Mongoloid. Here is Esteban photo from out of New York. These are Aztec. Descendants of the Aztecs. Look at that woolly hair. These are the last surviving Aztecs, pure Aztecs, as they refer to them as. 19th century Aztec couple. The original caption, 19th century portrait of Aztec couple, a Mexican tribe now practically extinct. All right. Houghton Duchess collection. Look at them. Look at these afros of the Aztecs. And the Aztecs weren't descended from the Olmecs? Do you know that California was named after a so-called black queen named Khalifa? A Khalifa? Of course, we know Khalifa. Khalifa is the Islamic name for successor. You have the Chronicles of California, Queen Khalifa by Mozilla Zuku. The Great Seal of the island, anyway, the Great Seal of the island of California. Look who's there. Is an image of Queen Khalifa. This is a black California native. This is one of the rare photos or pictures. Many are, in other words, many have no doubt, there are no doubt hidden of a black Californian at the mission with a cowbell in one hand and a cross in the other. This picture shows the black Californian wearing a necklace similar to the picture with the black Californian warrior with bows and arrows. All right, this is Ramona Lubo, all right? A Coahuila Indian woman in California, April 5th, 1899. Check this out. This is a group of California Indians called the Maidu. Made a simple instrument musical bow. The player plucked the singing string, changing the pitch of the note by opening and closing his or her mouth. Who is that doing that? Huh? Who is that? That's a California Indian, huh? Yeah. Ancient instruments of North America that was used by the ancient Brazilians, Olmec, South Americans. All right, that's actually what that's supposed to be. In American Genocides, the United States and the California Indian Catastrophe by Benjamin Matley. Go get the book. Herbert Howe Bancroft, The Native Races of the Pacific States of North America, 1874. Let's see what he says about how the Californians look. This is page 364. Their height rarely exceeded 5 feet 8 inches and is more frequently 5 feet 4 or 5 inches. And although strongly, they are seldom symmetrical built. A low retreating forehead, black set, dark deep set eyes, thick bush eyebrows, solid cheekbone, a nose depressed at the root and somewhat wide spreading at the nostrils, a large mouth with thick prominent lips, teeth large and white, but not always regular, and or rather large ears is the prevailing type. Their complexion is much darker than that of the tribes further north, often being nearly black, so that their matty, bushy hair, which is frequently cut short, they represent a very uncouth appearance, or present a very uncouth appearance. At the Bodega Bay, there are an ugly and brutish race. This is where the word British comes from, brutish. But you had the brutish Moors, who was the Yorkshire Moors, who actually ran the Isles of Albion, which is known as England now. Many was Negro profile, page 103. Their complexion is dark mahogany, or often nearly black. Their face round and square, with features approximating near to African than the Indian. This is how the original so-called Indians looked, y'all, in California. The so-called Mexicans, now that we just showed you. What you said, man? All right, all right. So oh, thank you, brother Johnny. We got to thank you for the day, yesterday, shoot, the day before, shoot. We just got to give you what's up. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate that, God body. Much thanks for that. All right. We appreciate all the super chats. We definitely appreciate that. It go towards building this channel, towards this information, and putting out the books in which that is needed to correct all this foul bullshit in which that you see on planet Earth to this day, with this white supremacy and with this nonsense, and the tentacles of the Illuminati throughout every facet of society: education, politics, labor, economics, so forth and so on, religion, land, health, etc., etc. So their complexion is dark mahogany and often nearly black, but their face round, square, with features approximating nearer to the Africans than the Indian. On Sacramento were the fine, robust man of low stature and badly formed. All right. Their mouth was very large and nose broad and depressed, chiefly distinguished by their dark color. Their features are coarse, broad and a dark chocolate color. Telling California farmer, November 1860. Ugly, stupid, savage. Otherwise, they was well formed, tolerable, tall, and a dark brown complexion. The women were short and very ugly, and they had much of the Negro in their countenance. So see, whenever there was a lot of the Negro in their countenance, in their face and in their structure and features, they was ugly. See, this is them trying to put themselves in the superior position. Inferior complex comes out to play, and their narcissism and their sociopathic and psychopathic tendencies come out to play. Then all have a very savage look and are very dark color. So anything became dark became the devil. Chamiso at Chashibo Voyage, Volume 3, page 47. At Santa Clara, they were of blackish color, that they have flat faces, thick lips, and black, coarse, straight hair. Volume 2, page 92. At Placerville, there were many repulsive looking wrenches. They are nearly black and exceedingly ugly. This is what he's saying. California, Broadwick, 3 years in California, page 128, page 366. And speaking of the Californian Indians in general, they are of a middling, or rather of a low stature, and of a dark brown color, approach into black. Large projecting lips and broad, flat Negro resemblance to the Negroes. Landolph Voyage, Volume 2, page 194, 95, 164. So besides for the term ugly, they have been ugly, the European, and which is very thin nose, thin lips, no ass, so forth and so on. You know what I'm saying? That's how they looked back then. All right. You have the old ceremonial dance at the Mission San Jose Cordero, 1816. Trista, peace, peace. That's what I'm talking about. Peace. So how did the Olam people go from looking like this in 1860 to now looking like this in 2015? Now look, they had afros, if you notice. They went from having afros and being dark-skinned, right, being mongoloid. Indian playing the game in California, mission by Louis Cordes. All right. Indians hunting in the Bay of San Francisco, California, engraved by Jane Augustine Frankie W, 1789, 1839. All right. Some more California so-called Indians. But Mexicans would get in trouble today calling themselves Indians instead of Mexicans. Better that they don't call themselves Indians, because Mexico at least has a tie nationality-wise. The Native American Negroes in New California, latitude 32, San Diego, called the Insulin or Estero, aka the Hottentots. Hold up, the Hottentots, they were like the Hottentots. Hottentots all the way in the goddamn South, all the way in damn South Africa. That means they had some asses on them. The Hottentots, because you know how the Hottentots look. The Nimukwa, the Tabukis, and many other Negritian tribes, not black, but dark brown, yet complete Negroes, with large, thick lips, broad noses, and very ugly and very crisp or curly hair. The Negro features belong to the form of the heads rather than to the color, since there are in Africa, Asia, Polynesia, brown, black, brown, yellow, olive, coppery, and even white Negroes. Now, of course, we know about the white Negroes. We're talking about the Albions, or in our case, the albinos Negroes, all right, which look melanated. They just have blonde, crisp hair. They still have broad lips, broad nose, features, so forth and so on, maybe light eyes. The four letters, this is from the four letters on American History, 1848, by Constantine Rodafini to J.H. McCullough. All right, this is what Dr. Nicholas Leon, 1859, 1929, physician, archaeologist, anthropologist, ethnologist, founder of the Museum of Michoacan in Mexico. What he says almost extinction of the original Negroes during the time of the Spanish conquest and the memories of them in the most ancient traditions induce us to believe that the Negroes were the first inhabitants of Mexico. We had the voyage from Africa, as they told us, right? On ancient ships was quite a possible. Now check this out, voyage from Africa on ancient ships. Not the ships brought to us by Columbus. Sailed by Columbus. That sounds like a goddamn commercial, don't it? Yes, come to America and come upon the ship sailed by Columbus. The voyage from Africa on ancient ships was quite a possible undertaking based on the capability of the vessels of the period and historical materials stating it took place. This is Dr. Julian Whitewright, maritime archaeologist, the University of Southampton. Some more Mexicans, dark-skinned Mexicans. In California, thereof, along the Atlantic seaboard, a cast of brown-skinned people is developing what cannot officially identify themselves with any Pacific tribe, but which must be either Indian without any other classification or simply brown people. In some regions, such people came to be known as the Marlborough County Indians or Auburn Indians. That is, they acquire rather meaningless geographical names. This is what happens when you don't have knowledge yourself. In still other areas, such people acquire vague nicknames as in Mission Indians, Moors, Issues, and Brass Ankles. So even the term Moor is a vague nickname. So we know that's the general name. Moor ties you back to land, but what land? Is it North America, Central America, South America? Is it Americana, the Caribbeans? Is it England or Europe, Africa, Australia, the South Pacific? What land do Moors tie you back to? Because remember, the Moors means land. Land and Moors are interchangeable. We showed you that before. So what land do you tie back to? So when you have people out here talking about that you don't need your tribal connection, they're out their motherfucking minds. They're out their goddamn minds. Telling you that, oh no, we're just Moors. Yeah, you just land. So what land? Because that still opens up to send your ass back to some other land. If they could, which they really can't, because you don't have no asylum in any other land. But just saying. Brother Troy. And Lisette, thank you. Whoo, that's what I'm talking about. Hook a brother up. Hook a brother up for putting out this info, because this is some good shit. All of these latter developments, which collectively make it difficult for a person of native descent to maintain a meaningful or specific ethnic identity, are to be regarded as disadvantageous. To be simply a brown person with no, check this out now, with no Pacific history, no heritage, no tribal identity around which pride can be developed, is to expose oneself to the worst possible kind of existence into society, which still, for all of these ideals, rank people of color bases and places great emphasis upon ancestry. The actual experience of distribalized people along the Atlantic seaboard would certainly suggest that there is advantage to retaining of as much Pacific heritage and tribal identity as possible. Prophet Noble Ali said El-Bey are tribal names. And then he told you that he came from the Cherokee. He was raised on the Cherokee reservation. Prophet Noble Ali told you that he had a tribal connection. But Negroes can't get that shit in their goddamn heads. Even Moors can't get into their heads. Sorry, we're not rolling with that. If you're going to follow the prophet, then follow him right. You said something, man? Mao. Appreciate that. Thank you. The little known history of North American Indian slaves in America. Anyone born to a slave woman, be she Native American, Indian, Black, African, or mixed Indian, inherited slavery. Slavery affected all people of color in America, and the paper genocides of Native American Indians and mixed Indians combined with the slavery of the other Native people were a double dose of oppression for Native American Indians, be they full-blooded or mixed, or pure-blooded, full-blooded or mixed blood in the United States. Oh, Lisette, thank you, goddess. Appreciate that. Much love for that.
He said, love God, appreciate the knowledge.
Oh, word. Thank you. Portrait of an Inca. Now check this out. This is a portrait of an Inca nobleman. So how the Incas look? Uh-oh. Somebody been lying. And his sons, painted by native Andrian painter Andres Sanchez Goliquit. 1599. This is in 1599. And the Incas are depicted wearing Spanish clothes, but with Inca gold ornaments and captions by Spanish names. Prefixed by Don, meaning Lord or gentleman. It is the oldest known signed and dated painting from South America and is said to have been commissioned by a colonial official as a gift to the King of Spain. At the National Museum of Prado, which is Prado in Madrid. Right, there's a panel from the painting in Locos Museum in Lima, Peru, depicting the Inca. Check this out. This is the Inca emperors. This panel shows the last 7 Inca emperors and subsequently a subsequent first European, all right, emperor of the Incas. This is the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V. But he's European, however, he's melanated, as you see. Charles V was melanated. Carlos Quinto as the 15th Inca emperor. There was a Moor who ruled the Incas. This painting came to date, circulated around 1800, because the last 2 entries of Carlos Tercero, which is Charles III, as the 24th Inca emperor, and his son, Carlos IV, which is Charles IV, House of Bourbon, and you know, as in Bourbon Street in New Orleans, and the 25th Inca Emperor, Charles IV, reigned as King of Spain from December the 14th, 1788 to December the 19th, 1808, abdicating in favor of his son, Ferdinand the Seventh. Here's how the so-called natives looked in Chile. In Chile. Look like you. I didn't do the damn map. Don't get mad at me. I can just read. I can comprehend. This is what happens when they give a nigga a book. He might read that shit. Do you know the genetics of the Native Americans? We the People, November 2003. What most people do not know is that there is a difference between American Indians, full blood, which is predominantly Mongoloid genes, and Native American, which is pure blood, original Negroid genes. The people that you see today have light skin, various shades from beige to red, and even some dark brown, of course, but mixing, having shovel teeth, oval features, and straight, circular, and hollow hair. All of these traits are inherited from their Chinese ancestors, who is half their blood, and in most cases, the Mongoloid gene dominates the Negroid gene. These American Indians are the children of the true Native Americans who were Negroid as Olmecs. Yes, the original Native American tribes were all Negroid, as I've proven. I've proven that already. The Southeastern Indians, as they was called, was not unlike the Ethiopians. I showed you the Californians were not unlike the Ethiopians, Negroid in stature. I showed you that all the way down into Mexico, where they had the oldest melanated people, which is called the Olmec, the mothers of civilizations, as they refer to them as, was melanated. Yes, the original Negroid or Native American tribes were all Negroid. The American Indians of today are a mixture of Olmec, the original blacks from Negroid race or roots, and the Hixian or Shuichen, which is from China, as well as Dravidian of East India, who crossed the Bering Strait and created the Aleutian American Indians related to the Eskimos, a mixture of Eastern Indian Orientals. These Mongolians or Hixians today as Chinese, who sailed over from China in the year 459 AD. This is when the Chinese got here, was 459 AD. And the East Indian who walked over here much, much later mixed with the Negroid Olmecs who we have today were originally from Africa, as it has been proven by recent times by much excavation and uncovery along the Nile, that all human life originated in Africa. These ancient Negroid Olmecs are the parents of the American Indians of today. But most accurately, or accurate way to confirm the existence of Native American blacks on Earth in these days is through genetic research. There are several ways to genetically prove which of all the races that make up the human species was on the planet Earth first. In an effort to answer this question, scientists did a study in mitochondrial DNA, all right, which is passed through the female, all right, in which that they found that, yes, all races tie back to black. And of course, I'm using black in the terminology in which that you are most used to understanding. We understand that we are Moors, all right, tied to the land, because black don't tie you to the land. All right, here are the shovel teeth. Right? If you pure African nigga, then what you doing with these shovel teeth in your mouth? Stop lying to your goddamn self. Stop lying. So that in New York during the debate with Brother Seti, and only about 3 people raised their hands. And then I said, stop all you goddamn lying. Stop all that goddamn lying up here. Get them goddamn hands up. Get them goddamn hands. I stuck them up, goddamn it. I stuck them up. Damn, more than 90% of the goddamn audience rose their damn hands then from 3. I'm like, what the hell is this? Y'all up in here lying and shit, trying to act like y'all damn pure Africans. Let me damn kill that shit right quick. You all American niggas. All right, here we go to the book. When following the course of constellations, those immovable and perpetual fasten upon America reach, it appears that while all of the sublime in the historic past centers upon Egypt, all that is sublime in the prehistoric past centers upon America, Atlantis, as the curtain which has been here hitherto concealed the prehistoric connection between the people of ancient Egypt and of America is lifted. It will be seen that the people of the eagle on the now being descended from the original people on the eagle on this continent, the Taino one and the prehistoric America was the original Egypt. I'm gonna say that again, that the prehistoric America was the original Egypt or Eagle land, which is the land of Heru. Hence you get the term Peru. Prior to the mighty disposition in the days of the Pelag, which the earth was divided and the great globe itself was nearly rendered asunder. That was the great earthquake that Prophet Noble Ali talked about that happened around 150 million years ago. Said Augustus, it says, firstborn among continents, America was forcibly denominated the new world. Hers was the first dry land lifted out the waters. Hers was the first shores by the ocean that enveloped all the earth besides. And while Europe was presented only by islands raising here and there along the sea, above the sea, America, Atlantis. So America is Atlantis, y'all. Already stretched in the unbroken line from Nova Scotia to the far west. Right, this is from the ancient mystic Oriental masonry by Swinburne Clymer. See, this is where you're gonna find the real gems that is in the Freemasonry and Rosicrucian information. This is where you're gonna find the real shit at, the real history at. See, what they tell you that Atlantis isn't real, right? But Atlantis is real, and what they don't tell you is that it's an African civilization. In other words, it's right off of what we now refer to as Cuba and the Bahamas, in between there. It's called the Bimini Islands. If you're looking for the island, it's right there. Don't believe me? Here it is, goddammit. President of the United States and leading bankers and media holders. Fundamental theme running from the golden age of Atlantis, a little more removed to the present day is that the snake or the serpent. Both civilizations was known in legends of the dragon lands and the motherlands. The Greek called Atlantis Hyperia, named for Venus, love, the land of love. This is why the Moors have the 5-pointed green star, which is the star of Venus. Love, true peace, freedom, and justice. Love. Hyperia, Atlantis. This is why this flag was raised here, because this was Atlantis. This is Atlantis. And they said it was guarded by a dragon. Native American recalled Atlantis, which is called Itzamena, which means dragon land, or the old red land. The Algonquin used the name Pan for the Atlantean continent, and name was given to the goat god of the Greeks. Pan was originally a dragon or goat god of the Atlanteans. Some record of the early Egyptians and Greeks suggest. All right, and we're talking about the Greeks. Don't get confused. They're talking about the Minoans or the Cretans, who were originally Egyptians, Kemites. The very name Mu, pronounced Mu, is close to the Polynesian name for dragon. A Indian Tamil text, the Salapat de Khadirah, depicts a lost continent in the Pacific and Indian Ocean, and it was called Kamari Nadu, or the Kamari Nadam, which means the dragon land of the immortal serpents. America is called the land of the immortal serpents. That's what America is called. You don't believe me? Why you think they got in Hakapata, which is called Memphis today, in Tennessee, you see the pyramid. Slave trade actually happened. It should be noted that the Dutch, like the Portuguese, sent civilians from Brazil to Africa. This is John D. Forbes. Read his book, Africans and Native Americans, page 51. So this is in reverse to what we was told. All right. So we're going to end right there. We're going to say, as we always say, continue now for days, weeks, months, years to come. We're moving towards our most cherished goals of health, wealth, knowledge of ourselves, prosperity, protection, security, full contentment, and better economic condition. we're happier and we have much more joy in our lives. And every action, enterprise, and endeavor in which we wish to be involved is bringing increasing rewards. We have so much abundance and success that we're able to help, share, and give to those who are sincere along the way. And we're moving closer towards the oneness of God and goddess and the full release of our higher selves. Woo! Ashe, we out. Brother Maui, that's what I'm talking about. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. We love y'all. Peace. Right? Queen told me to go to the chats. So I got to go to the chat, to the chatteracks. All right. Any questions? Any questions? Queen want me to do a question night? All right. So we're going to do questions. All right. Hit up a question.
How did Atlantis
Prophet Abu Ali said that there was a great earthquake that occurred in which that caused what they now refer to as the Great Atlantic Ocean. So it came by way of a great earthquake.
I thought that Atlantis was underwater. Was it an underwater world? Or?
No, it's now an underwater world, but Atlantis was originally, as we know, was or the Caribbean islands. Matter of fact, you go to the Bahamas to this very day, and they will show you mermaid holes, and that in fact that Bahama was called Atlantis. In other words, you had the islands of Atlantis, and you have what is called the mainland of Atlantis, which is known as the United States of America. All right. So we really just say North America. All right. We don't even like adding them jokers. You know what I'm saying? But so yeah, it never sunk here. Sink portions because you can go to Bimini Island right now, or what was once Bimini Island, which is off the coast in between what we now refer to as Bahamas and Cuba. Is in between there. There's a whole land mass underneath the water with figurines, with pyramids, with structures and everything underneath the water right now. Right, you can go and check that out. It's called Bimini Island, or Bimini, or the Bimini area. Bimini area. Okay, you can go and check that out right now. All right.
What was the climate back then in the Americas? Because all the pictures show summertime.
Exactly. Right. Well, Prophet Noble Ali said that once the Europeans go back to Europe or wherever he gonna plan on going, because he gonna need some water, the climate will go back to where it used to be, where you would have grapes would grow as large as you'd be able to hold 4 in one hand, and the bananas will grow back to how they were, which is large. So this is what is total. So yes, at one time the climate was a steady 76 degrees at one time here within the Americas after the Ice Age, after 10,000 years ago.
But with the chemtrails and all of that, they manipulate.
Right, but with the chemtrails and everything that they're doing, they're manipulating the weathers. They have what is called weather modification. So actually, it's supposed to be that right now, truthfully. All right, year round. Right, they have to make winter nowadays. All right, they have to give you a snowy wet winter. All right.
Is Atlantis rising?
Yeah, we rising. We are the Atlanteans. Those who have the indigenous blood of the people here are the Atlanteans. Those on the islands are the Atlanteans. We are the Atlanteans. And so, yes, we are rising in our consciousness, rising in our statue, rising in our knowledge, information. Yes, we are rising. Right.
Are what we call in modern Mexicans essentially the Moors?
Yeah, well, like I said, we are the Moors. We are the Sagamores. We are the Moors and the Moors. That's who we are. So any and everything in which that we talk about here on this channel take us back to our heritage and our history, and we have to take it back from the Albion. That's what we're doing here, is taking everything back from them, because they have a way of perverting and confusing the storyline and adding themselves up in the mix, even though they know their history don't go no back than 6,000 years. But if you notice, the information which that we dropped on here goes back further than 6,000 years. So therefore, they weren't even on the planet when we talking about all of these things have taken place here.
Why are they claiming to find so-called ancient Caucasians here in the Americas?
Because there were some Caucasians here, because we made them in various locations. If you go to Syria or Mesopotamia, you find that the genetic experiments took place there. You go to Egypt, the genetic experiments took place there. You go to the Yucatan, Mexico Peninsula, or the Yucatan Peninsula, which is in Mexico, which is, you will find that the genetics took place there. All right. So we had different places and locations for the genetic breeding in which that took place, which now becomes what is called the Albion, because we had them as our workers. They was called the Lulu or the Adamu people, which people as they call, which means the created people. It was the created people. We made them.
And how did we make them?
That's going to be another video.
Okay.
But made them, let me say, through experiments, right? Through very experiments.
What are the
Ibridha, this is what brother Marish is called the Ibridha experiments. All right. But to Scott, he says in there that the Egyptians said that the worst thing that we have ever done was create man in our image and after our likeness. This is the exact same thing that God says.
What tribes are located in?
The tribes, the several other people in that area. Okay.
What are some solid books on the Olmec, and what are some books that you touched on today?
My book in particular, First World Order, is the main one, because we try to correct this information of the Olmecs, or the Olmecs, as well as also, Making of the White Man by Paul Lawrence Guthrie. You definitely check that book out. Thank you, Morris Masson. Thank you, Black Swift Knight. Appreciate that. Much thanks for that. Lost Realms by Zachariah Sitchin. You can also or David Hatcher. All right, you can also get Othello's Children by Pimente Bay. So you help greatly. Besides for all the books that I made mention in the presentation. Oh yeah, come on now. Look, I'm glad that y'all giving some super chats. I love that. But make sure y'all come to the event September the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of September. This September. This is this September. All right. We talking about in 2 months. All right. September 2023. We're going to have our event right here in North Carolina. Give us a call at 910-364-9099. That's 910-364-9099. Or go to our webpage, website in particular, what's called Calendar of Events, and go there and see the itinerary, the agenda for those 3 days, and what to expect, as well as also the hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. You all know nothing about that right there. That's old school. That's old school. All right. So go and check that out. Okay. All right. We are out, y'all. I think we did it. We did it again. Appreciate y'all. If y'all have not subscribed, please go and subscribe. What is going on? What's going on with the subscribes and the shares and the comments? Gaia, I ain't talking about you because you be doing your thing on the comments. I love that. I love you. Thank you, Gaia. I love you for commenting and getting the information rolling with the questions. You know what I'm saying? And with the in the comments, you know, on the comment page. I love that. All right. So but everybody else, come on, what y'all doing? You know what I'm saying? Put some, you know, put some likes on it. Yo, peace. We out. How's the people on there tonight, Shaky?
The highest you had was 86.
Okay. Okay.
I said I love you guys. Yes, that book is a must-have.
There you go. Hit them back, Shaky. Hit them back.
Then sharing on Facebook, Twitter. Peace, y'all. We love you guys. Mike said when you read about the island, you looked like you were shocked too. When you read about the island, I said no. Alim have had these presentations for a while. Y'all just now seeing them. And
Tell them these are
and I said Alim got enough presentations to do a video every day for 365.
yeah.
And it's my oh my god. But she was trying to act like you were shocked on your own presentation.
Yeah, well, add some shock to me up in there. But be hiding that, but then all of a sudden when I go down there, you be finding me, huh? You be finding me?
Yeah.
You be finding me?
You know, we scared that bathroom was traumatic. She be happy.
Come right on up in that page.
Don't she?
I'm like, what the hell? She ain't, I don't think she ain't no little scary ass joker. Not no little scary ass joker, that's for sure. She know we ain't trying to harm her. Not too bad anyway. What?
They can still hear you.
How? How can still hear me? Hear me?